Thank you, Reverend Rudy. Sang us one of his original compositions. Excuse me. Okay, I see the little red light on, which is good. That means we're recording, we're live. Excuse me. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so glad you're here. Thank you, everybody who is watching this video on YouTube. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Watch all of our videos, lovingly prepared for us by our Reverend Kelly Halleck. Okay, the title of my talk today is Seeing the Appearance and Then Seeing Past It. So, those of you who have tuned in regularly and who come occasionally or regularly know that we have our healing list, and everything on the healing list is written as an appearance. And we've been doing that here for 25 plus years. And every once in a while people will challenge us on it. And I have decided to really address that challenge and just be really open about it. Like, why do we do it that way? Why do we say it? Now, if some people are steeped in the Unity School of Christianity or religious science teaching, they also have prayers and healing lists, but they never mention what appears to be the problem. They just affirm the person's health. So if somebody has a health challenge, they'll say, George is in perfect health, or we see George in perfect health and vibrant and alive. They never say what the thing is that maybe is the reason why George was asked to be put on the healing list in the first place. And while I totally understand that, and I think that's incredibly valid, and if you're on a Unity or religious science healing team, please do it the way they ask you to do it. That's fine. That's what people have joined with. But we do it differently here because I think A Course in Miracles teaches us something that is a little different. That's what I really want to talk about. I believe A Course in Miracles teaches us to see the appearance, to see it as an appearance, to know that it's not the truth about that person or that situation, and then to ask for help and then see beyond it. But it's not about not seeing it. And it is about acknowledging that it is an appearance. Sometimes people ask me where I got this word, and I just got it from A Course in Miracles itself. It says, unshaken does the Holy Spirit look on what you see, on sin and pain and death, on grief and separation and on loss. So the Holy Spirit sees all these same things that we see. The Holy Spirit's vision isn't necessarily different from our vision. It just is our vision, and then it goes beyond it. And then it continues, and he sees them as appearances, behind which is the changeless and the sure. So Holy Spirit sees these things as appearances. And our list is constructed that way, just to share that idea, to share that vision, to see them as appearances. And this was in the reading that I read just a little while ago. It actually talks about them as appearances several times. It says, he has one answer to appearances, regardless of their form, their size, their depth, or any attribute they seem to have. Salvation is my only function here. God still is love, and this is not his will. So we see the appearance. We don't pretend the appearance isn't there, but then we go to the correction. We acknowledge what our function is. Salvation is my only function here, and we acknowledge God still is love. This cannot be his will. It doesn't mean we don't see the appearance. It means we see it, and then we center in and acknowledge who we are and what our purpose is, and then we see past it. And it says it again. It says, if you are tempted to believe them true, remember that appearances cannot withstand the truth these mighty words contain. And those are the words that salvation is my only function here, God still is love, and this is not his will. So no appearance can withstand that. So we don't have to worry about acknowledging the appearance or stating the appearance. I think that's the thought with people who don't like to do that. You're stating it. You're making it real. And A Course in Miracles is telling us that you don't have to be concerned with that theory, that idea, because it doesn't matter what the appearance is. It can't withstand God still is love, and this is not his will. In other words, we have a power, and we have access to a power that is past that appearance, that is so much more, in orders of magnitude beyond it, that appearance can't withstand that light. Actually, that appearance is just the darkness, and when we turn on the light, that darkness is just gone, because it never really was anything in the first place. So there's no reason in A Course in Miracles theory, at least I believe, to avoid stating the appearance, because we're going to the light. And God still is love, and that appearance is not His will. So we can state it because it's something that we and others have to deal with, but then we go to the light beyond, and the light shines it away. And this is talked about in another place. This is in the text, and this is actually one of the quotations that I've been sending out with the healing team every day now for a while. He says, "What man believes is true for him. In this sense, the separation has occurred. And to deny this is merely to misuse denial." Notice we don't have to deny the separation that appears to be in our lives. And then it gives us a very, very clear instruction on how to be healers. So take it in. It says, the true corrective procedure is to recognize error temporarily, but only as an indication that immediate correction is mandatory. So the true corrective procedure is to recognize the error temporarily, and then to remind ourselves immediately to correct it. And it's mandatory that we do that. So I think A Course in Miracles is continually giving us instructions on how to be healers, how to be miracle healers. That's what I think A Course in Miracles is. I think it's a manual to teach us how to be healers. Healers like apparently Jesus was a healer. People who could actually heal the sick. Now, not everybody views A Course in Miracles that way. Some people view A Course in Miracles as a wonderful spiritual psychological tool that will keep them at peace regardless of the situation that's going on in their lives, regardless of the condition of their body, regardless of the condition of bodies of others. They can center into what they believe is true and be at peace regardless of all that's going on. It's a psychological tool to keep you at peace. And that's how some people view it. I think that's valid. I think that's actually a great way to use the material. But I think it's so much more than that. That's just, I think, scratching the surface. And that's focusing on certain aspects of the Course teaching and ignoring actually a vast amount of what A Course in Miracles actually talks about. And those people relate to that other part, that part that really focuses in on healing, even healing the body. They relate to all of that as a metaphor and as a symbol, or as something that brings an image to mind that helps us stay at peace, but not that it actually meant that, the way it was stated. And I want to acknowledge that. That's how some people view A Course in Miracles, and that's fine. It's not how I view A Course in Miracles. I think those statements are statements, and as hard to take in sometimes as they might be for people, that's what it is saying. I do not think it's a symbol, and I do not think it's a metaphor. Now, I know some people who take it all the way to say A Course in Miracles is really a course in how to have ascension, how to ascend bodily or with some sort of individuality into heaven, like Jesus ascended. And I think it might be that, but it never really talks about that. I mean, it might lead to that. So that's very valid for those people who think that, but I don't get that directly from the teaching. But what I get directly from the teaching is that it is a course on how to be a miracle healer, how to be a miraculous miracle healer. And it's giving us instructions on that all throughout. We read this one in Reverend Rudy's class yesterday morning. It says, "There have been many healers who did not heal themselves. They have not moved mountains by their faith because their faith was not whole. Some of them have healed the sick at times, but they have not raised the dead. Unless the healer heals himself, he does not believe that there is no order of difficulty in miracles." So this is really giving us an instruction that we're healers, and we've got to heal everything, and we certainly got to heal ourselves. And that we just can't sit in the reality that we're somehow damaged or flawed. We're here to heal that. That has manifested in our lives for the purpose of us healing it. We're the ones to heal that. And we don't have to pretend it's not happening, because the true corrective procedure is to see it and feel it and acknowledge it, but then to move to correction immediately, because we remember as the reading says, salvation is my only function here. God still is love, and this is not his will. We see it. We see the appearance. We remember who we are, and then we see past it. Okay, like I said, a lot of people actually relate to these passages in A Course in Miracles symbolically. And they say they are metaphors. Okay? And I hear what they say, and I think they're wrong. Okay? I mean, I can countenance some things in A Course in Miracles, but I can't countenance bad English and bad grammar. And that's not what a metaphor means. Look it up in the dictionary. You're redefining the word if you call these passages metaphors. And I know that some teachers have done that, and a lot of students do that. But you're not using the word correctly. That's not what metaphor means. Now, there are metaphors in A Course in Miracles. And here is one. This feather of a wish, this tiny illusion, this microscopic remnant of the belief in sin is all that remains of what once seemed to be the world. Okay, so it's calling the world and the belief in sin a feather. That's a metaphor. The belief in sin is not actually a feather, but A Course in Miracles is, the Course in Miracles is calling that or equating that with a feather so that we can see how flimsy it is and how it lacks substance. And then it says, how mighty can a little feather be before the great wings of truth? Can it oppose an eagle's flight or hinder the advance of summer? So it's using it poetically, symbolically, feather. It's not really a feather. Our belief in sin is a belief. Our belief in separation is a thought. Okay, but it might help us to think of it as a feather. But everybody knows it's not actually a feather. Okay, but it's a symbol. It's a metaphor that it is using. But metaphors are obvious.
The point is everybody knows it.
Everybody knows it.
Everybody knows it.
Everybody knows it. Nobody reads this and actually thinks the belief in sin is actually a feather. Everybody knows that the feather is a metaphor for the belief in sin. Okay. And then it says, can it interfere with the effects of the summer's sun upon a garden covered by the snow? See how easily this little wisp is lifted up and carried away, never to return, and part with it in gladness, not regret. So, I mean, this one really carries the image, really shows us how we're supposed to think of this feather that is now a metaphor for our belief in separation. It's just it's not a big deal. It wants us to realize it's like a feather. It's not a big deal. It's a little wisp of thing that floats away. And then it has one of the great poetic lines, I think, in A Course in Miracles. It says, would you not rather greet the summer sun than fix your gaze upon a disappearing snowflake and shiver in remembrance of the winter's cold? So a little great poetry there for A Course in Miracles. It's telling us, like, look at the summer sun. That's the light. That's divinity. That's the truth about ourselves. So in this sense, the summer sun is a metaphor for the truth about our identity. Now, our identity is love and light, and not really the summer's sun, but, it's a good metaphor for who and what we truly are. Okay, things like that, those are symbols. Those are poetic. Those are metaphors. And they're obvious. They're obvious. They're not questionable. Here's one I just thought of. The young man Tony, after his hot date with the cutie that he had been lusting after for months, was a bat out of hell as he drove home. Okay? I thought I'd get something secular here just to help. Okay, so Tony is not really a bat. And he's not really driving fast out of hell. But bat out of hell is a good metaphor for Tony in that moment, because he's so excited because he had this hot date with somebody he wanted to have a date with for so long that he's just driving fast down the street. He's a bat out of hell. It's a metaphor. Everybody knows Tony's not a bat and that he's not driving out of hell. Those are metaphors. These things about healing the sick and raising the dead, they're not metaphors. They're statements. They're statements. They may be really hard to accept. They may be challenging. That's the point. They're challenging, hard to accept statements. Open your mind up to them. Believe them or not believe them, but don't call them symbols and don't call them metaphors. Look up the definition of metaphor in the dictionary. That's not what it means. There's another thing in the Course in Miracles. You have surely begun to realize that this is a very practical course, which means exactly what it says. This is a practical course. It means exactly what it says. When it says heal the sick and raise the dead, that's what it means. You may not believe that. Don't make it into a symbol. Just embrace not believing it. I think that's more powerful than trying to think that it's a symbolic representation of something else. People who relate to the Course that way, it's like half of the Course. Their thinking is a symbol. Then they'll talk about level 1 and level 2, that some of the Course is written on level 1, and some of the Course is written on level 2, and all the level 2 stuff is symbol and metaphor. Well, no. I don't think so. I really don't think so. And that's not where I come from. And I don't think that's the powerful place to come from. And I don't think that's how you will become a miracle healer. And I think this is a course in miracle healing. I don't think it's just about psychological well-being. That may help you with psychological well-being, but it's not going to turn you into a miracle healer who heals the sick and raises the dead. And we don't have to pretend that those things aren't there in this dream of a world that we see. Because as I said before, the true corrective procedure is to recognize the error temporarily, but only as an indication that immediate correction is mandatory. Think about that word for it, mandatory, not optional. We have to heal ourselves. And we have to heal every image of sickness and pain and grief and violence that we see in the world. It's mandatory. It is not optional. That's what I believe this course is about. Healing ourselves, mandatory, not optional. You see the error clearly, you see it in the reality that has been given it, and then you join with the Holy Spirit, offer it up to the divine, and ask for correction, and do what you need to do to correct. You see the appearances, you see them clearly, you join with the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is the one who will help you see past it. I think we're here to be miracle healers. That's what my purpose is in life. And the longer I study A Course in Miracles, the clearer that message becomes. And I read A Course in Miracles 2 times a year. And I've been studying A Course in Miracles for 30 plus years. And I didn't always read it 2 times a year. Sometimes I may have read it only 1 time a year. I don't know, but I've read it 50 times or so, or 45 times. And every time I read it, I get this message clearer and clearer. I've tried to play with the other ways of interpreting A Course in Miracles, but there's just too much that doesn't fit when I do it like that. And there's too much I have to choose against or think it means something else. And at this stage of my study, I just got it last year. I'm not going to do that anymore. I just not. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for this being a course in how to be a miracle healer. I'm going to go for healing. I'm going to go for the truth in that. And I ask all of you, certainly those of you here in San Francisco, but all of you out there in ACIM Gather, or all of you who are watching the YouTube video, to join us. And to join me, because healing works better in collaboration. I get stronger at it knowing that other people are doing it with me. I think our healing team gets stronger at it knowing that they're doing it with a team. I know they love it every time I get one of those little testimonials where people say that things are better, things are healing. And I'm blessed every time I read some of those things. So if you want A Course in Miracles to be about becoming a miraculous healer, to really about grasping that when it says heal the sick and raise the dead, it means it literally, not symbolically, not metaphorically, then join with us. Then come here every week. Then join with me. Then become part of the healing team, or just join us in whatever way feels right and appropriate with you. Because we will be, and I will be, your collaborator in that embracing of A Course in Miracles. That's it. Thank you.